This is called Pieces and Parts.
It's another original song.
1, 2, 3, go.
Good morning, and welcome, each and every one of you, to our summer worship service at First Unitarian Society of Ithaca, a community that reaches for connection, even while distanced, digs deep for inspiration in uncertain times, and strives to engage with a world characterized at once by light and by darkness. My name is Beth Howard. I'm the Celebration Associate for today's service. Thank you all so much for joining us this morning, with a special welcome to the Ithaca community, members of congregations outside Ithaca, and anyone who's joining us for the first time today. We're all wishing that we could be together in our beautiful church building, and we can finally see the reality of that happening sometime soon. But today we gather together while still physically apart, because amid all the ongoing uncertainty, we are certain that we need one another. Here are a few announcements. There will be one more summer service on August 8th, when Carol Whitlow will be talking about helping to set up a shelter in March 2021 in Texas for migrant teen boys from Central America. Hope you can join us for that. From the members of the Interim Search Committee, Elton Hall, Therese O'Connor, Magdalene Lindeberg, Elisa Collins-Zinda, and Walt Peck, as well as the Board of Trustees. We are pleased to announce that the Reverend Dr. Anthony Tony Johnson has accepted the position of interim minister for our society to begin on August 1st. Reverend Johnson brings a wealth of experience to First Unitarian, having been a settled minister, an interim minister, and a contract minister at numerous UU churches in his career. He comes to us from the Unitarian Church of Harrisburg, PA. Dr. Johnson expects his interim ministry will help the congregation prepare itself for its next settled minister by knowing what it wants and where it wants to go. Reverend Johnson is an advocate of future in-person services with simultaneous live streaming for those who are at home. He believes that music and the arts are significant components of Sunday services and of congregational life. We are fortunate to have secured Reverend Johnson as our interim minister and look forward to welcoming him into our congregation. Here's an announcement about the treasure auction. Did you know we're having a virtual treasure auction in place of our annual recycling sale this year? It takes place August 20th, 21st, and 22nd. That's a weekend, Friday through Sunday, from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. online. Here's the announcement from the auction team. Ahoy, mateys! Have you turned your ship upside down yet, looking for beautiful items to donate to our treasure auction fundraiser? With the event only a month away, your donations are vitally important to making it a great success. And this, in turn, will ensure us a healthy budget for the coming year. So get busy and donate now. Time is of the essence. Details are to be found on the Fuse It website. From the home page, choose Connection and scroll down to Auctions. Please be sure to check your email, our Facebook page, and our website for more information about how to create and recreate connections as we emerge from the pandemic. If you'd like to receive weekly updates describing opportunities for engagement, please email a request to office@uuithaca.org. Our service this morning has been pre-recorded, but our speaker, Amber Harris, and hopefully our other participants, will be joining Coffee Hour after the Sunday broadcast, so we can share reflections on the themes of the service. You will also have the opportunity to share joys and sorrows at that time. We look forward to seeing you all. And now our chalice lighting, offered by Jessica Brown and her family.
This is a chalice of audacious hope. This chalice shines a light on our shared past, signaling our intention to listen deeply and move boldly towards our highest ideals.
We're going to sing for you Bright Morning Stars. This is an old Appalachian song that's been changed many times over a long period of time, and we've adjusted it a little bit as a bedtime song for our children.
We'll try to sing it a little more lively than that, though. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Day is breaking in my soul. And where are our dear papas? Oh, where are our dear papas? They're down in the valley playing. Day is breaking in my soul. And where are our dear mamas? Oh, where are our dear mamas? singing. Day is breaking in my soul. And why am I so lonely? My friends are ever near me. Their wondrous love surrounding. Day is breaking in my soul. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Day is breaking in my soul.
Good morning. My name is Tim Ball, and this morning's meditation reading is To Savor the World or Save It by Dick Gilbert. I rise in the morning torn between the desire to save the world or to savor it, to serve life or to enjoy it, to savor the sweet taste of my own joy or to share the bitter cup of my neighbor, to celebrate life with exuberant step or to struggle for the life of the heavy laden. What am I to do when the guilt at my bounty clouds the sky of my vision, when the glow which lights my every day illumes the hurting world around me? To savor the world or save it. God of justice, if such there be, take from me the burden of my question. Let me praise my plenitude without limit. Let me cast from my eyes all troubled folk. No, you will not let me be. You will not stop my ears to the cries of the hurt and the hungry. You will not close my eyes to the sight of the afflicted. What is that you say? To save, one must serve. To savor, one must save. The one will not stand without the other. Forgive me, in my preoccupation with myself, in my concern for my own life, I had forgotten. Forgive me, God of justice. Forgive me and make me whole.
Hello again. I should have mentioned earlier that our coffee hour following the broadcast will be virtual via Zoom. The information for joining the Zoom meeting will be on the screen at the end of the service and can also be found in this week's midweek announcements that came to you by email. At each service, we take an offering to sustain the important ministries and programs of this congregation and its presence in Ithaca. You can give by sending a check to the office, clicking the red Donate Now button on our webpage, or by texting your contribution following the instructions that will appear momentarily on your screen. May our gifts bring about connection, inspiration, and engagement within our congregation and beyond.
We're going to play If You Don't Know By Now. This is an original song that we wrote together. If you don't know by now, then I can get through somehow. If you don't know by now.
Thanks a lot.
Our speaker today is Amber Sky Harris. Amber is a longtime member of the First Unitarian Society of Ithaca, serving as the young adult ministry leader from 2013 to 2014. She was elected to the nominating committee at our recent annual meeting. Amber is currently studying for her master's in accounting at Binghamton University, and she volunteers locally with LCL Labs, mentoring students who are launching startup companies. She enjoys creating mutually beneficial connections while building a community of support. Her favorite activities include writing, mentoring, traveling, and nature hikes. Her talk today is titled, Having a Voice. Here is Amber.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Summer Service series. I am really excited to be one of the speakers this summer. And many of you may not know this, but I grew up in Ithaca in the late 80s and all through the 90s. I went to high school here. So this sermon is going to talk about my experience growing up in Ithaca, but also has to do a lot with our principle number 5, which is the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and society at large. And another way that I like to look at this is that all people need a voice. So all people need a voice. I like that idea, but what does having a voice really mean? Who has the voice? Who doesn't have a voice? And a lot of having a voice is wrapped up in power and influence. Just ask anyone not represented at the table what it's like not to have a voice, and they can tell you. So, like I said, I grew up here in Ithaca in the 80s and 90s. My dad and mom got divorced when I was 11, and my mom and brother and I moved to Northwood Apartments up by the airport. We lived on the 3rd floor in a building facing the forest. Now, downstairs lived another family that was a lot like our own. There was a divorced, hardworking single mom with children, and our 2 moms soon became fast friends. They would get together over coffee and talk about what it was like being a single mom, the massive challenges of raising kids alone, about their exes, about wanting a better life for their kids. And I remember overhearing my mom and their mom having a serious conversation about why they chose to move to these particular apartments that were really expensive and ate up the majority of their incomes. And our moms said that they wanted us to have a better life. They wanted to make sure we were safe in a neighborhood where we could play outside at night, where we had a chance at success. And so our moms socked away 5s and 10s and $1 bills and 50s and cash envelopes each month for rent. And once the rent was paid, we could pay the electric bill. Once we paid the electric bill and the rent, we could buy groceries. And maybe if we paid the rent and electric bill and the groceries, we would have a little bit left over to buy extra things like a trip to the movies or clothes or maybe something else. And my mom called this making ends meet. Now I can appreciate the intensity of what that must have been like for her and for my friend's mom, having to make those ends meet every single month. So I became friends with the youngest kid who lived downstairs. He was a few years younger than me, and he mystified me with his confidence and the sheer volume of his voice. Everywhere he went, he shouted and he sang, he yipped, he crooned. He could be found all times of day, calling out for his friends to come outside and play in a voice that echoed off the walls. He was cocky and smart. He was strong and tough. We played baseball together. We rode bikes with the other neighborhood kids, and we trick-or-treated, and sometimes we got into trouble. You could say we were like the leaders of the pack, and we argued constantly. I wanted him to be quieter and stop causing so much trouble. I would say, you don't have to shout everywhere you go. And he wanted me to stop talking and hurry up and step to the plate and hit the ball already. So we occasionally got each other into trouble with near misses of car windshields or errant baseballs, and we would split up and hide with the other kids waiting for the coast to clear. We never actually broke any windows. We were just afraid the ball would. A couple of years later, we both went to Ithaca High School, and we grew apart. We found different interests, different groups of friends, though we'd still go up into the halls and say hi every once in a while. Eventually, I graduated first, and I went off to college, and I didn't hear much about what he had been up to. Now, thanks to social media, I stayed connected with his older sister. Years later, she reached out to me and said how much I looked like my mom, and I asked how she was doing and expressed my sympathy. I heard that her mom had passed away, and I said I was so sorry, and would she please convey my condolences to her brothers? There was a long pause between that message and her response message. Finally, I heard back from her, and she said, "Oh gosh, Amber, I'm so sorry to have to tell you this way, but Keaton was murdered in 2005. It's been really hard on our family." I couldn't believe it. Keaton, my friend who I'd grown up with, who I'd played baseball and trick-or-treated with, had been murdered? How could I not have heard? All I could do was offer my deepest sympathies. After a while, I started thinking about that a little more. I couldn't help but feel if the decks had been stacked slightly differently, it could have been my family suffering those same losses. Change is happening. We had our first Black president, and I had felt a flood of relief when Barack was elected. But sometimes change happens too slowly for some like my friend. You know, the difference was Keaton was a young Black man, and I was a young white woman. And I feel like maybe those changes could have been different. It could have been me suffering those consequences if I was Black. You know, if I was at a Black church today talking about my story, folks may think, who is this crazy white girl talking about what she does not know about? And they would be right. I don't know. You see, I never worry about being followed in retail stores with clerks waiting for me to steal something. I don't worry about being pulled aside by police just because I match the description, if only in one way, of somebody who committed a crime. What I don't know is that I don't know, and that is a lot. Because there is still a stark overrepresentation of Black people in prisons and a stark underrepresentation of people in color in Congress and in top executives. You see, white is still the color of money, and white is the color of the ruling class. White has power. It makes a difference when we listen to the voices, which voices we hear, which voices we discount, and whether a life is lived at all, whether a child is encouraged to enter into fields of science and mathematics, or whether they're pushed towards an athletic scholarship. I met a man recently who reminded me a lot of Keaton. He was irritatingly charming. He was loud. He was confident and cocky and proud. He made jokes rapidly while laughing at them himself before I could. The difference was he's an old white man, and he's alive and an investment banker. And Keaton is no longer with us. Now, I'm not saying that race is the only deciding factor. I'm just saying that it is a factor. There's no question in my mind that Keaton had a voice. It could be heard for full city blocks. But the question really is whether his voice was heard. We have a habit in our society of silencing even the loudest voices if we don't agree with them. And much of that silencing comes from fear. As Universalist Unitarians, we like to think we give everyone a voice, that our doors are open to all, but is that really true? For example, we target a mostly liberal, leftist, academic audience. We're not really out recruiting conservative Christian Republicans to attend our seminars or our churches for the most part. And maybe that makes sense. Maybe that's a practical choice and in line with our intention. However, other times groups are excluded for other reasons. We're mostly older, we're mostly white, and maybe that's okay too if that's our goal, but I've heard a lot of conversation recently that we have a desire to attract a more diverse audience. And if that's true, really we need to ask ourselves about this outward expansion, and it will require a lot of deep questioning. What don't we know? Why are we not appealing to outsiders? Why does it feel exclusive? Now, if you have a chance, I really encourage you to step out of your comfort zone and attend other worship situations where you're the other in that situation. Because if you're the only white person in all Catholic Latinx church or the only white person in an all Black Baptist church, you might feel a little uncomfortable. Maybe the service is in Latin or Spanish. Maybe it would throw you for a loop. Welcoming diversity at churches is not easy, and change is difficult. People like to see themselves reflected in the faces around them. It's hard to be an outsider. Oftentimes, we fear those who are different than us. We fear different options, different opinions, different perspectives, people who look different, people who sound different. We may have to fight an inner urge to intimidate or ignore or close down, either through name-calling or humor or thinly disguised jokes that humiliate and degrade other people. And in those moments, the loud are the powerful and the quiet are the powerless. Often when something changes, people feel angry and they lash out. But perhaps there are responsibilities if we want to truly grow. For the underrepresented, it means continuing to show up. It means speaking out repeatedly and building bridges. It can be exhausting and disheartening and heartbreaking. When it works out and your voice is heard, it can be amazing. For the overrepresented, it means it's up to each of us to turn the tables, to speak out against intimidation, to really listen, to invite others to our circles of influence and step out of our comfort zones. This can be challenging. It takes a lot of strength to challenge cruelty and to stand up against tactics used to silence others. It's up to us to challenge ourselves to be uncomfortable, to grow, to be the better people that we know we can be. Thank you so much. I have a poem I'd like to read an excerpt from that was written by a friend of mine, Hakeem Bellamy, who was the poet laureate for Albuquerque in 2014. This poem is titled To Michael Luther King Jr. from Mohandas K. Gandhi. Michael, I'm sorry. It's not fair. At least I got to meet my grandchildren before my people turned on me. I should have told you that Satyagraha will get you killed, that your hugs and hope will end in the embrace of gunpowder, that 1 million people can beat 1 million bullets, but all it takes is one bullet to beat you, Michael. We have more in common than our 4 children and our changed names, more than the Nobel Peace Prize gossip, cold jail floor cells, and an oppressed underclass. More than Henry David Thoreau and cowards who are too afraid to die for anything, calling us soft. I'm so sorry. I should have told you that civil disobedience requires civility. Civility that is very hard to find in the human race that swaddles its offspring in flag and pistol, one in the cradle, and launches them off to war. I should have told you that all of our Waldens would be war zones, that we won't die of old age or tuberculosis like Henry, that nonviolent resistance ends differently for our people with our colored skin. There should have been another chapter for us. Thank you so much. I urge you to think about these words and take them to heart. Blessed be.
Where the captives go free, where the oil of anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like the waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Come, build a land where the mantles of praises resound from the spirits once faint and once weak, where the oaks of righteousness stand her people. Oh, come build the land, thy people we seek. Come build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like the waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth or the fire of commitment.
Our service is ended. Let our true service begin.